Okay, we're gonna continue now with the meeting. Where's we're missing Mr. McGee. We are. Right now we're moving on to number 5, zoning ordinance amendment. Section 18, promotion of stone wall preservation. This is a public hearing. Discussion by council vote or other action on the first reading. I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved, Mr. President.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bottomoli? Yes. Mr. McGee? Mrs. O'Hara?
Open the public hearing.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Biragad?
Yes. Okay, is there anybody that would like to come up and be heard on this issue of the zoning ordinance amendment for the promotion of stone wall preservation? Sure. Go ahead.
Good evening. Imagine my surprise when I walked in, I saw all those people here for the stone wall. Wow, this is great. Everybody wants to preserve our culture and our history.
Maybe you're not at least.
Oh, well, working with what we have. All right, a little background. Paul Soares, Sales Hill Road. I represent both the Ordinance Committee and the Conservation Commission at this point. I served on the Ordinance Committee helping to write this ordinance. Give you a little bit of background, everybody. Change specs, let's see. I'm not sure, and most of you know this, but back in 2010, in May, the Blackstone Valley, what's their official? Blackstone River Valley National Heritage Corridor Commission held a meeting in town, and also the Rhode Island Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission was present. And they held a meeting with our town leaders, town administrator Hamilton, I believe, was there, some town council members, some planning board members, and members of different organizations that were concerned about our heritage. And they defined heritage landscapes, and everyone there discussed what might be the most important aspects of our community to preserve, to keep our rural character and preserve our history and our culture. And of 24 different items that fall into that category, we were asked to come up with the 5 most important items that needed protection and preservation. And the results were the area of Slatersville, Nipsachuk, the battlefield, ceremonial sites, which was in the news a lot at that point, the Wright Farm, Primrose Pond, and stone walls and scenic roads. Not necessarily in that order, but those were the 5 out of the 24 items to choose from that after a lengthy discussion were the highlighted items. So, fast forward, the Ordinance Committee at that time, which is not the same Ordinance Committee we have today, and I served on that Ordinance Committee as well. Actually, I'm on the 3rd Ordinance Committee at this point. Came up with a stone wall preservation ordinance. It was an exact, well, I shouldn't say exact, a duplicate of Smithfield's stone wall preservation ordinance, which had been in effect since 2007. The only thing we changed was the name from Smithfield to North Smithfield. We changed the amount of the fines from $500 to $100. And we left out the reference to the book Exploring Stone Walls by Robert Thorson, which is actually listed in the Smithfield ordinance as a way to define stone walls. But the town attorney at the time, Mr. Nadu, suggested that he didn't think it belonged in the ordinance, so it was stricken. Okay, that ordinance went through the process and it was rejected. As some of you know, Mr. Smolinski and Mr. McGee were on the council at that time, I believe.
I did not vote in the negative, though. Just want to make that clear. I voted.
Yes, you voted in the positive, I recall. I don't remember the other members of the council at that time. So anyway, fast forward, here we are again in this ordinance committee that's currently in force, if you will, had asked this town council if we could address the issue again, and we were told to go ahead and do it. So we did a lot of research, again, found a lot of the same things we found before. And once again, after looking at ordinances from several towns in Rhode Island, we thought that the Smithfield one was simple, concise, to the point, not too restrictive, easy to understand. And once again, we copied that one, again with the lower fines. And the definition of stone walls was any stone wall constructed before 1900. The state defines a historic stone wall as constructed before 1900. Just so you know, the state has a law, 11-41-32, called Theft of Historic Stone Walls. And it provides penalties for anybody who is convicted of theft of a historic stone wall, portions thereof. Shall be subject to penalties for larceny as provided in, etc., etc. So that's just telling you that even the state of Rhode Island considers historic stone walls a valuable resource. So here we are again. We sent this proposed ordinance to the planning board. The planning board made one small change. They changed the definition of a wall from built before 1900 to built before 1939. And the wording is, as indicated on Rhode Island state aerial photographs. And the reason for 1939 is obviously that was the year that the state was surveyed by air. So that gives you an easy way to define or determine whether the stone wall was there at that point. Just so you know, another town defines a historic stone wall as before 1950. Another town defines historic stone walls as built right through the 20th century. So that'll be up to 1999. So we're at 1939 now. The Ordinance Committee believes that stone walls deserve protection. The Conservation Commission believes our stone walls deserve protection. I believe you have letters of support from the Heritage Association, the Historic District Commission, and of course from the Conservation Commission, which I don't need to read to you. You have a copy of it. And the Blackstone Valley Corridor Commission. Also, the Planning Board took up the issue July 12th of this year. And according to a transcript I have here, they voted 5-0 in favor of the stone wall ordinance. And they quoted the Natural and Cultural Resources chapter of our comprehensive plan. It says, emphasize a flexible strategy aimed at protecting a range of cultural assets, including but not limited to historic structures. And stone walls are certainly historic structures. And also amend other development regulations to specifically and effectively protect historic and cultural features, again, stone walls. This is, they found that preserving and protecting stone walls is consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I'll leave it at that. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, if you have any. And I have an extra copy of this flyer from that May 13th, 2010 meeting where stone walls were identified as a valuable asset that should be protected, if you'd like.
Just take 1 second, I just want to read something out real quick, if you don't mind. Hey, is there a penalty? Like if I have a stone wall in my backyard, right where I want to put a pool, am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to take that stone wall down and put it in my pool?
Yeah, sure. You just go to the planning board, show them your plan, and they have the authority to allow you to do whatever you need to do.
And if they say no and I do it anyway, I get a $100 fine?
If they say no, which I sincerely doubt, and I think for the a couple of planning board members here tonight, you might want to ask them how they might
Just
respond.
theoretically, that's all.
Theoretically, if nobody sees what you're doing, then they're going to get fined, right? It's like anything else, go to a stop sign, and you get a cop watching, you don't get
Well,
fined.
anyway,
Is that part of that usage, when you want to do something, and you have so much land, maybe you have setbacks?
setback, important point, go.
Okay, you
Go.
have the setback. You can't do it because you're using too much of your land.
Oh, percentage of development. So, if I may, Mr. President, if I may, not saying this is the case 100% of the time, but usually a stone wall is a delineation of property. Okay, it was always used in the past. You can have several stone walls on your property, but if it is a delineation of your property, you'd have to have a setback, which Councilor O'Hara was referring to. So, I don't think that this ordinance prohibits anybody from taking down a stone wall to put it in a pool or to gain access to another property. It should be done with moderation, and at the end, if you take the stone wall down, you adjust it so it doesn't tumble. What's the correct word? You fix the end of the stone wall so it's not exposed. That's basically.
Yeah, it's worded in here, let's see if I.
Yeah, there's a source. Is it possible to, suppose I do have a stone wall in my yard that I want to move, so I go to the planning board, I want to move the stone wall. Is it possible to reach out to you guys and work with you to maybe photograph the stone wall, number the stones, and move it to another location?
Oh, absolutely, Conservation Commission would be happy to work.
They would,
with
you
anyone.
guys would be willing to work with somebody to do that?
Certainly.
Okay.
So where's your stone wall?
I don't have a stone wall.
At whose expense?
Question though,
Please.
at whose expense?
Well, if you were doing some
It's yours.
work on your property,
It's not
like
expensive.
building a garage or putting in a driveway or whatever, a stone wall had to be removed, a section of it, certainly would be your expense because.
But then who's moving it and building it somewhere else, or?
Well, I don't think this ordinance says anything about
Yeah.
moving it.
But it's just something you guys would be,
If you wanted to move it and you wanted some assistance with recognizing what it is or help with moving it, I'm sure that our commission would work with you. But if you want to take down a piece of a stone wall, put in a driveway, the planning board would just say, yeah, do it. If you want to take down a piece of a stone wall, put an addition on your house, of course you can do that. The planning board, I'm sure, will say, go ahead and do it. And again, there's two members of the planning board right there, and I'm sure, I mean, I don't know about submitting plans for development, I'm not a developer, but if the plans were submitted properly and it was something that absolutely had to be done so that you could put in your driveway or build your addition, I don't think they would ever say no.
It doesn't prohibit, it's just trying to encourage the preservation.
Scott Lynch, from the planning board, and also the ordinance.
one at a time. I'll let you speak because it's a public.
I just
Hold
want
on,
to make
Scott. I'm going to let you speak, but we're just going to go one at a time.
I just want to make clarification, because in that ordinance that's in front of you, if you're just putting in a pool, you only have to go to the building zoning officer to get the permission, not the planning board. If you're doing a subdivision, then you go to the planning board.
Thank you.
So there's a much different level of what your submittal has to be.
Okay, thanks.
Well, you'd have to go to the building inspector for a pull anyway, so it's not an extra stratified layer.
Paul, can we just get another comment?
I just have a question relative to the historic nature of stone walls. So you can have a historic stone wall, but at your discretion, you can remove that stone wall to put a pool in? I wouldn't think you could, because you can't make alterations on a historical home without getting approval. So,
Well,
I mean-
currently, in this town, yes, you can, because we
You
do
can?
not have a stone wall preservation ordinance.
Historical homes are in a historic district.
That's
a little
correct,
different, But we
yeah.
have stone walls throughout the town.
right,
which are not
right.
historic.
But if the stone wall was contained within a historic district, are you telling me you wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
do
then
it?
that would be up to review.
Okay, so there are reviews
I think
that.
maybe a gentleman from the historic commission might know more about that than I.
We currently would not be reviewing most of the landscape issues. It's really for the property and all affects the district. Those things certainly can be looked at, and as part of our review, and recommended not to. We certainly leave whatever Paul is saying, talking about here, preserve the fact.
Right, I would hope so.
It's not currently something that we
sorry, are you advocating that the Historic Commission review wall?
Well, I would think so, particularly in a historic district. I mean, if we're saying that they need to be preserved, we should preserve them rather than take them down
Okay.
at our own discretion to put a pool in or a shed or something else.
This is the reason for, Mrs. Sweeney, you know well, this is the reason why we're having it, because that could be incorporated. Okay, thank you. Mr. Keane, do you want to speak on this? Yes, please.
Hi again, Rich Keane from the Smithfield Heritage Association. I live at 7 Manfred Street. So the Slatersville Historic District gets a lot of attention, and rightly so, because of its historic nature. But there's heritage in North Smithfield that goes back much further than that, and that's our agricultural heritage. And there's a lot of stone walls in town that were built during the colonial period. If you look, we sent the North Smithfield Heritage Association sent a letter out. I think you folks received it. If you take a ride down Range Road or Old Smithfield Road, you'll see some beautiful examples of those colonial stone walls. They kind of define our rural heritage here in North Smithfield. And so the North Smithfield Heritage Association does strongly support this ordinance. We urge you to support it as well and help preserve that agricultural heritage of North Smithfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, please. State your name when you come up.
Larry Smith, 170 Douglas Pike, North Smithfield. 30 years ago, it was out to pole 140 with no numbers. I've been living in town 42 years and researching the stone walls in town. And they weren't just built by farmers. Excuse me. You look at the walls, they're all different constructions. Some are just piled rocks on top of the others. Some are 4 foot high, some 6 foot high, some are 3 foot high. In the point of times, the walls had to maintain a 6 foot height. And the farmers only made them at 3 foot, but they used sticks on the V to get their height. The tall walls, with the stones, the way they're laid and the way they're located, were made by Native Americans before the Inmans or Maoris even came to town. You just do the research, you look at the walls. Every wall is a different type of wall when you go. They have spiritual stones in them, they have monumental stones in them, but then you have your farmers' walls, that when they clear fields, they power the walls up, they made boundaries. But the native walls, you see them in the woods. I have one on my property. They have no reason to be there except they protect a certain area from the Native Americans. Because farmer walls are architectural walls, they're square. The Native American walls are just a straight line, or they curve way more. But there's so many different walls out there. You need to research it before you just say, no, we're not going to protect them. And it should just be discussed on the importance of the walls in town.
That's very interesting. I would be very interested to see these.
There are many different types of walls. You see them. They're wide, they're narrow. Some of the Native American walls could be wide, most of them are narrow, they're high, they're low. And it's very interesting when you get into it. I really do think the walls should be protected. And if you're going to put a pool in the yard, I don't know anybody with stone walls will make it in the middle of the yard.
I don't know.
And the main thing, if you're going to protect the walls, boundary walls owned by 2 people, who has the power to take it down? I have my wall is a boundary. Does my neighbor have the right to take it down on me? That's
You
what
want to get rid of one, I'll put it in my yard.
No, it does bring value to the property, there's no
It
doubt.
does, it brings a lot of.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Kravitz? Can I ask you a question? Yeah, 1 second. Do you want to ask him a question?
Yeah.
Can you hold on 1 second? Go ahead.
Very quickly. The Native American walls, are those like thousands of years old? How old are they? Are the Native American walls? Are they thousands of years old or?
Thousands.
Thousands, right?
I had correspondence with Brown University, and one of the walls are between 3,000 and 5,000 years old.
3,000 and 5,000 years old.
For the areas that they're protecting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in the memo to the council dated July 26th, there are actually two motions taken that night on July 12th by the planning board. The first one was already explained by Mr. Soares, where they did make the findings for the comp plan, but then there was a second motion made stating that the ordinance is not necessary to add to the town's code of ordinances at this time. And I can surmise that, I think the reason the planning board said that is because there was a lot of discussion too about the statute on criminal offenses, and that perimeter property boundary walls must remain in place. And also the planning board has the ability to preserve stone walls through the subdivision process, which is where you get a large percentage of them. So I think, that's kind of why they also put that second motion out there. That actually passed 4-1. So that sounds like it's counterintuitive, but I think I just wanted to explain that.
All right, thank you. Anybody else want to be heard on this issue?
Mr. President, hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to continue for a second hearing on the Section 18 promotion of stone wall preservation to a date certain, so we don't have to re-advertise it.
I second that motion also.
And we have to ask the cooperation of the town clerk.
October 2nd is your next one.
October, how's the agenda look for October
I
2nd?
don't have too much on that.
Not much?
Is that the new date we changed the date?
It's a Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday, okay.
Tuesday. Okay, make a motion to continue to October 2nd. Public hearing, yes, continue public hearing.
That's a motion. Is there a second? Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Mrs. Bottomoli?
Yes.
Mr. McGee? Mrs. O'Hara?
Yes.
Mr. James Walensky?
Yes.
Mr. Biragad?
Yes.